business with a servant's heart. Welcome to the podcast. Inspiration, motivation takes. Listen to the pod.
Welcome to Doing Business with a Servant's Heart. I'm your host, Steve Ramona. Every episode is an invitation, a reminder that business and life isn't just about profit, it's about purpose. It's about showing up with a servant's heart in every deal, every decision, every day to make a powerful impact on others. My guest today, we met a few months back and really connected, and we're connecting again today, but he's going to light you up. He's going to motivate you. He's going to challenge you. But more importantly, you're going to walk away with tools that inspire action, both in your life and other people's lives. You can make that impact. But before we dive in, here's your homework today. How are you going to serve yourself and others today? I'm going to add this. Send me an email after you listen to this, whether it's a recording next week, next month, 6 years from now, whatever. Send me an email. Tell me how you served yourself and who you served today. Let's not wait. Let's put out the good as soon as possible. And it doesn't have to be a big impact. Even a small act of kindness or courage can change the game. So lean in, take notes. Let's discover how servant leadership in business can create ripple effects that last far beyond that incredible bottom line. And a big thanks to my sponsor, Epic Impact, the storytelling system that helps your message connect and convert. It's just 4 steps: engage, persuade, inspire, and close with clarity. I use it every day, and man, does it work. You can try it free at epicimpact.ai with code Steve. So change your message, change your results. With that being said, thank you, audience, and thank you, previous guests who are listening. We hit top 20 in small business marketing. Guess what? We are impacting people. Let's continue doing that. Let's impact more people. And let's bring our guest on. Neil, welcome to Doing Business with a Servant's Heart.
Steve, thank you so much. I've looked forward to this since our first phone call. The first time we met, I was like, man, I love his energy. He is genuine and he's making a difference.
Yeah, I was excited when you said yes to jump on. I'm going to ask you a personal question. I'm not a runner. I'm a big guy. How did you run a 2:17 marathon in 84?
I just
That's
moved my feet
massive.
really fast. I just moved my feet really fast. Yeah. I
Well,
actually,
it's not that easy, but
yeah,
you did do that.
there's a lot more to it. I was a decent runner. I won a lot of races when I was in the Air Force, stationed over in Italy. And but when I came back to the States in I think it was 81, I wanted to get up to a different level, and I wanted to make the Olympic tryouts to try out to make the team, the Olympic marathon team. So I'm a firm believer that if you don't know how to do something really well, hire a coach or a mentor or a program or something that will get you from where you are now to where you want to be. So I asked a former coach at a college where I attended if he would coach me. And I told him what my goals were. And he knew I was sincere and I had great work ethic and I loved to compete. He said, sure, we're going to start with stretching. I was like, no, I don't stretch. I don't like to stretch. He said, so good. We're starting with stretching. I couldn't even touch my toes when we started. And by the end of it, I could pull my heel over my shoulder. That made a huge difference because I mean, you work out, your muscles can be really stiff or they can be like a rubber band, and mine were like rubber bands. He did not have to help me with the mind because I've practiced visualization since I was in my early 20s. And I'm a master at that, seeing what you want in your mind's eye and visualizing it like a dream, right? But that you produce, and you do that so many times that when game time comes, it's like, I've been here before. Golfers use it, athletes, rugby players, you think of it, they use it. Professional speakers, they visualize what they want so many times. It just makes it seem not like, oh my gosh, it's monstrous. It's just very natural and achievable.
Did you qualify for the Olympics?
I qualified to try out for the Olympics. So here's what happened. Yeah, they're each year they set a qualifying mark. So that year I think it was 2 hours and 22 minutes. Anybody who ran under that, which is like the 1/10 of 1% of all marathon runners, anyone who runs under that can go to one marathon. It was in Buffalo, New York, and we all compete against each other. for 3 slots on the Olympic team. I did not make the top three. The guy who won, Pete Fitzinger from here from Boston, ran I think 2 hours and 9 minutes, and I did not.
No, no, but you made it to the qualification because you listened to your coach and
It
the
was a
mindset and all that.
yeah,
Oh,
it was a dream come true, and it's so interesting when when people read when they're going to introduce me to get on stage. I always ask the leader of the meeting, the director, whatever, to personally introduce me. And it's not a page this long. You've seen my bio. You can make it quick. But when people mention Olympic trials, top secret in the military, won a marathon in 2 hours 17, you see the audience like, okay, this is the real deal. Written 5 books. It just gives you credibility. Think about the credibility you have with this podcast and the
yeah.
people you've had on here and your message. It's not about you trying to get rich. It's about you trying to enrich the people you talk with and the people you meet every day in life.
Yeah, I like that. It's not being rich, it's enriching. And the riches will come when it
Absolutely.
makes you right. It always does.
Yeah.
Sales. A lot of people gurus in sales. You can go to YouTube. I typed sales in one time and I got 5,500 videos. Let me teach you sales, pay me, all that. And nothing wrong with that
Right.
because some of them do work and people are looking for help. What is your biggest thing about sales that people need to know?
Build relationships. There are a lot of commodities out there. So when I was in financial services, our goal, I worked for a money manager. So I was a sales rep calling on individual reps at financial advisors like Merrill Lynch and Payne Weber and all the firms in my territory, which was New England. And all of my competitors would come in and say, Steve, you've got to look at our growth fund or our government fund and it was the same every day. When I walked in to do an office meeting, I had set it up with the sales manager who questioned me coming in. I said, listen, and this is my actually value prop positioning statement. I said, do you know how so many of my competitors come in to pitch a product? He said, yes. I said, well, what I do is completely different. I've created 6 value added presentations right here, how to get referrals, how to grow your book of business, on and on and on. And my goal is to teach your advisors how to bring in more assets and grow their book of business and build strong relationships. He went from, I don't know if we have time to bring you in the next year, to all of a sudden saying, so how soon can you come in? Can you come in every other week? I was in that office for every other week for the next 6 months because I added value. And we talked about this earlier, the law of reciprocity. After I taught them how to get referrals and all those things that are so important to salespeople, they would look at me and ask, "So how can I help you?" I say, "Well, tell me about your business. Take 5 minutes. Tell me what you're focused on and what your clients buy. And if there's an opportunity to reciprocate, we have a lot of funds, FUNDS, not fun. We have a lot of fun also." And I said, once I know what you're focused on, I'll share a couple ideas with you that are really working well for other $1 million producers like you. In 5 years, $1 billion in sales. I never pushed a product in my life, never. It was always based on what your needs were. But I added value like you and I do in life. One reason people like us so much is after a conversation, they walk away like, I feel good. I feel really good about this relationship. I told you in an email, I'm so grateful that I'm in your circle. So when it
Mhm.
goes back to sales, let's do a loop back. I teach people consultative selling, and that is this, and should be consultative approach, not selling. Ask questions. Do something. The gentleman who was playing a loop when I logged into your Zoom, who was
Yeah,
that?
Peter
Willis?
Willis.
Peter
Yep.
Willis. He talked about how well you listen. And that's why these interviews go so well. So when I'm teaching consultative, it's ask good questions and then do something most people don't do. Listen, pay attention, take notes. And one of the ahas that I've seen in the classes I teach is I tell people when I say listen, I say, jot these 2 words down. Listen, LASTEN, and write silent, SILENT. Same 6 letters, rearranged. We cannot listen unless we're silent. So when I teach that to folks, they're like, yeah, but I got to push product to get sales. I said, No, you don't. If you build relationships and satisfy people's needs, once you know what the needs are, you'll get more business than you can ever imagine. So I was taught, so that's consultative, Steve. That's asking questions, probing. Tell me more about that. And genuinely caring, right? To interest. When I would ask my prospects or clients, do you mind if I take notes? They'd say, none of your competitors take notes. I said, I'm not like them. I'm not like them. I really genuinely care to know if I can help you or not. Because if I can't, I'll wish you the best and we move on, and that's life. If I can, I'm going to make sure that I take great care of you. I've returned all calls within 3 hours. That was on my voicemail when people would call. So, yeah, a part of being in sales or in life is what makes you different. Not perhaps what makes you better. What makes you different from the masses? How do you separate yourself from the pack? So those are some of the things I taught my sales reps. I should say the people I did business with, my customers, and their business just blew out their previous goals. So it was more of the way they looked at me was more of a consultant and a trusted advisor. The way they looked at my competitors, oh, here comes that sales guy again. I was never called a sales guy.
Yeah, it's so powerful. That's $1 million tip, being unique and an outlier,
Mm-hmm.
because that's why people open it. And you're right, gatekeepers will keep it, because I don't blame them. I know you don't blame them. They got, 5 sales guys coming in every week. They're trying to run a business. This guy, can I spend 30 minutes with you? I got the best thing in the world. It's going to change your life type of mentality and talk, unfortunately. And maybe you do, but they may not need it.
Yeah.
Let me ask you, what you've done this many years. I'm not going to say because he's a young guy. What's the biggest challenge in sales for people that you've seen across the board over these years? Is there any consistent theme or?
Yeah, a lot of them just don't understand the consultative approach.
Okay,
So
that's
they
it.
come across as a slick, hard pushing, hard pressing salesperson. And it's not that at all. If you enjoy building relationships and genuinely care about people, you'll do great in sales if you are in an industry that you like. I happen to get into financial services because I grew up on welfare and I wanted to learn as much as I possibly could about financial services and providing for a great retirement for me and my family. So that I had passion in, and there was so much room to grow, uh, that I could talk about these things with passion. Uh, but it's really, Steve, I got to tell you, the more people I talk to about the consultative approach, they're like, I never knew about this. I was on a Zoom call doing training 5 years ago, and there's a guy sitting back like this. And I'd like to go around the room and ask, Steve, what are you expecting today? What do you hope to get out of this meeting? Tell me in 20 seconds. So I go around the room, there are only 12 people. I get to him, he said, listen, son, I've been in sales 10 years. I pretty much know it all. And I have to be here because my boss said I have to. I'll be polite, I'll be professional, but I doubt I'm going to learn anything. And I didn't take it offensively. I needed to know. If I have a sniper in the audience, I want to know that. So I do my consultative selling approach. He's listening, he's taking notes, and then the meeting goes off. The next day, he was meeting a prospect. He had called on for 5 years, zero business, never got a sale. So he called me back and told me the story. He said, so I'm sitting there, I'm like, 5 years, I've been calling on her, nothing. I'm going to try that Neil Wood consultative selling stuff. I didn't design it. It's been around for years. But so he said, I asked her, tell me about your business. She went on. What are the challenges you're facing? What are your goals? Things like, the conversation. Before he left, he had a $10,000 sale. And he asked her, he said, Marge, I've known you for 5 years. You've never done any business with me. Why today? She said, today's the first time you asked what I needed. Every other time you came in pushing product of the month. I had zero interest. So he said, this stuff really works, Neil. I said, I know. I've been teaching it for 35 years.
That audience, I hope you hear that over again, that story. 10,000. How many of you will raise your hand if you're listening? $10,000 would, help you a little bit, or a lot, lot. That I love to hear because it's missing. We're outliers in this world, and we shouldn't be. I hope 3 to 5 years we're not outliers.
Yeah.
That people are all doing this. We're all trying to bring need to everybody. What you need, bring value in doing that. But here's what I hear. I know the answer, but I want the audience to hear what you say. I'm scared to have kindness in my business because this is serious business. I have $1 billion company. I can't be kind. I've got the board. I've got this, and this. What's your answer to that?
Well, you can be firm and kind. You never want to get walked over. I mean, when I go into a meeting, I've got it's game on, let's go, and I try to keep it fun and upbeat. But I'm well aware of my audience and what's going on, the business world and what's going on out there, what I need to be aware of. So I don't walk in like Pollyanna, like, "Hi, I just saw a bunch of daisies and unicorns." They'll call you fluff right away. But after teaching this for 35 years, I can certainly put on a game face to meet with a billionaire and talk about where he wants to grow his business, what marketing he could consider looking at, where to go with AI and all those things. So I can talk the talk and walk the walk. So I would say be if anybody in sales or in business, be aware of the industries, be aware of your competitors, know where the opportunities are, know what the challenges are. I mean, that's just being real about the whole thing, and just being aware of everything that's going on, so you can come to the boardroom loaded, and I mean loaded with information, and just listening to get a feel for everything. So, as nice as I am, and I'm like this every single day, and I have been for years, I'm a sharp business guy too. There are deals I'll walk away from. There are people prospects I've met, and I can think of this one guy in Boston, said, "What do I have to do to earn your business? I know you'll do a lot of business with my competitor, like $30 million a year. What do I have to do to earn some of your business?" He said, "Well, if you'd put my wife and I up in the Four Seasons in a suite for the weekend, front row tickets to the Yankees game, the opera." It's like, I'm sorry, that's completely illegal in financial services. So I wish you the best. Good luck. Take care. Within 3 years, he was actually fired from this major wirehouse because what he was doing was illegal. I wanted nothing to do with it. So I can walk away easily. My competitor's like, "Okay, I'll do whatever you want." You like, remember the dog in the window, the little,
Yeah,
I know it's in the car, the bobbling head? Sorry.
don't buy
I
you.
always I live with integrity, and I expect others to do the same.
That's such a brilliant answer. I've asked that many times. One of the best answers I've heard because you're right. You could be a savvy businessman,
Yeah.
but be kind. Walk by your staff. Hey, Tony, remember their names. That's the kindness we're talking. We're not talking about rolling over. And that's an incredible story because you know what? You served him
Yeah.
besides serving yourself by saying no, so you don't feed to that immorally and illegally what he was doing. So
No.
we could be servant and say no to people. I love that. It's huge. So
Yeah.
here's another question I get all the time because I mentor a lot of entrepreneurs. Well,
Yes.
I sell a $50 product and that guy sells $1 million product. It's got to be different sales techniques. Consultative selling is probably the same, right?
I say it is. We have
Yeah.
to find out what are the needs, what are the challenges, what are the opportunities. One of my favorite questions is, and I did not create this, if we could wave a magic wand and look out 3 years, where do you see yourself? And what's holding you back? What's helping you, but what's holding you back from that goal? I act as a trusted consultant to dozens and dozens of millionaires, multimillionaires. I can help you, but I have to know where you want to go. And some people would say, I just want to improve my income by 10%. Okay. Others are like, I want to triple it. I want to do this legally, of course. What do I need to do? And they would hire me as the consultant to guide them, to get them from
Yeah.
step one to step 50. It takes time. It won't happen well, I don't know of any, but it happens overnight unless you hit the lottery. This is a long-term process. And you've probably talked to many people about goal setting. 10% of the population have goals that are written on paper and that they look at in the morning and at night. 10% of the population. Blew
That's
my mind. And
yeah.
it's no surprise that so many people reach 65 and they're like, "Oh, no, I just had my 50th class reunion from high school last week. And most of my classmates are poor. And we didn't grow up in a poor town, but they never learned about goal setting. and dollar cost averaging. You know about investing. You're a big time investor. And they never learned that. Steve, I was so fortunate to meet Colonel Tom Kirk when I was 19 in the Air Force. We became great mentors, and he became a great mentor, and we became great friends. He asked me a very simple question, and that is, do you know how to set goals? I said, no, we never learned that in school. And by the way, I think that's schools nationwide don't teach goals. He gave me, I'm going to date myself, he gave me a cassette tape from Zig Ziglar on how to set goals. That was one of the key turning points in my life, how to set goals. It was wonderful. And you've listened to Zig. And
Love it.
that changed my life. Think about this. I met him I got the cassette tape in 78 or 1979. Within 6 months, I dropped 30 pounds and started winning races in Europe, in Spain, and in Greece, and all this, all because I learned about visualization, setting goals, putting the 3x5 card on your mirror. So every morning when you woke up to brush your teeth or whatever, you look at your goals. And every night you do the same thing. You look at your goals. Simple. And by the way, 3x5 card doesn't have 80 goals on it. What's most important to you, right? So 3 or 4 goals on there. Fascinating. When I teach that to folks during the trainings I do, they're like, oh, I never knew that. Well, as you and I joked about earlier, we don't know what we don't know. So be open-minded to learn. You are.
Yeah.
You're always trying to learn something new.
Yeah. 5 years ago, I wasn't 3 years ago. Didn't
Yeah.
read a book. I've read 4 books in 2 months. It's not a
Yeah.
lot, but I've learned so much. And you know, using your ears, you always have open ears. I talked, like you said in the podcast. Here's a little tip that I learned. Well, guess what? Somebody told me that tip.
Yeah.
And pass it forward, pass it forward, pass it forward. And you know, these people that go, I'm going to charge you for everything that I have. You're missing out on some good stuff because you don't have to do that. Lessons about business. Talked to a lot of very successful business people. What's a constant theme they tell you besides the, you know, listening and asking that grew their business?
Knowing what they were trying to accomplish and being resilient and just being determined. There are so many things you and I can teach people, Steve, but the fire in the heart, the fire in the belly, I can't teach that. You either have it, unfortunately, or you do not. I was born with it. I disliked being poor so much that I was like, I'm going to be so successful when I grow up. I read Think and Grow Rich when I was 13, The Power of Positive Thinking when I was 13, all those books to enrich myself. So the most successful people I meet in business, they know where they're going and they are determined. They will hit some obstacles, but many of them have the ant philosophy. And as kids, remember when we were playing with ants, you'd put a stick on the ground to try to stop an ant. What will an ant do? You know the answer. The over, under, around, or move the stick, right? So they live with that ant philosophy. And may I share, when I watched your video on YouTube today, you talked about the pity party and getting inspired. May I share one more story about Tom Kirk?
Please.
Because it ties into business. Um, as time went on, it was my time to leave the Air Force because I'd been in 4 years. And Tom said, let's have lunch. Tom was my teacher in teaching financial planning courses on the base at the university through University of Maryland. And so I learned as much as I could. And he said, let's have lunch. You're going back stateside. He said, I'll tell you, you're going to be one of the most successful people I've ever known. I said, well, Tom, why do you say that? He said, I taught you how to set goals. You just took off with it and became a superstar runner. You're going to be a great businessman. And he said, you keep your promises. You tell me what you're going to do. You do it. You don't diddle. I said, well, Tom, now here comes the pity party part, Steve. You can relate. I said, I grew up on welfare. My parents are not well educated. I barely saw my dad. He was a Navy SEAL. I saw him twice a year. I ran away from home at 16. And so I don't know if I'll really be successful. And he stopped me dead in my tracks. He said, let me share a story with you. I was on a bombing mission over Saigon. He was a fighter pilot. And he said, I was shot out of the sky. And when I woke up, I was in the Hanoi Hilton. For those of you not familiar with the Hanoi Hilton, it is not a hotel. It's a prison camp. John McCain was one of his roommates. So I'll flash forward to the story and the lesson that Tom taught me. He said, Neil, you're 22 years old. The rest of your life is your responsibility. You can't blame Aunt Matilda, your parents, where you went to school, how you grew up. He said, the rest of your life is in your hands. What do you want to do? He said, here's a lesson I learned when I got out. Some people turn to, drugs and alcohol and things like that. I was determined to be wildly successful. And Steve, that was an aha moment for me. I was like, the heck with the pity party. That won't get me anywhere. So this loops back to the question you asked me about the most successful business people. They take 100% responsibility for their daily actions and their goals and where they're going in life. Doesn't mean it's going to be easy. There will be some setbacks. How do you rebound? Because I'm a firm believer that in life, it doesn't matter what happens to us. It matters how we react and what we do next. My opinion, I think you probably feel the same.
Life isn't perfect. All you listening, and Neil, you're going to agree, it's not perfect.
No.
You have bereavement. You're going to have, I had a great guest I was telling you, Nathan Jones, listen to his podcast about mental state. You're going to have wake up and somebody's passed away. We've talked about your colleague. Things are going to happen in life. It's how you take it and how you run with it and what you do. I love this whole show. We're bringing Neil back for part 2. That's done. He's not even going to say no because I won't let him. Let's end with a fun question because I want to learn a little bit more about you. I want the audience to know about you. So I've got a reservation at a restaurant for you, table of 4. You're going to sit in one chair, 3 empty chairs. Who are you going to invite, whether dead or alive, mentors, people you always wanted to talk to learn from? But more importantly, what food does Neil order for the table? Because you're ordering the food.
Well, I know you can't tell from my last name of Wood, but my mother's name was Carricchio. So I'm Italian and I'm from New England. So it's going to be Italian and seafood. That's what I'm ordering. Unless
Nice.
the guests have allergies. And I will ask up front because they're going to be
Of course
my
you
guests.
will.
Yeah. But I'll tell you, Tom Kirk, who I mentioned earlier, is still alive. He's 96 years old. He plays golf 3 times a week with his wife in Arizona, and he's at the gym 3 times a week. And he has the best attitude. If we called him right now, he'd get, Neil, how are you? You'd think he had way too much cappuccino. He is just, so I'd want him, probably Oprah Winfrey. I think she is just fascinating. And maybe Brene Brown. I mean, there are so many to choose from. Though they're just genuine people, right? Um,
Powerhouses.
yeah, Oprah came from nothing. She was really poor, and look what she built. And when she first got into broadcasting, remember she got fired. Oh, you can't do this. You're not made for TV. It's like, oh yeah, watch this. Get out of the way.
Yeah, wrong
So
thing to tell her, right?
yeah, exactly. So, well, who would you invite?
Jesus, my dad,
Oh,
and The Rock.
The Rock. All right.
I change it once in a while. Rarely people have. And I love that you asked. I just think from business to entertainment to, and I hear it's true that he's legitimately this kind of giving person.
Yeah.
I heard him on an interview saying Jelly Roll, who's a country singer,
Yeah.
they had a connection, some picture where he grew up and where Dwayne grew up. And he was saying, I was driving down the road crying because I was depressed.
Wow.
Now, you see The Rock, you don't see that like we were talking about.
No.
That's why I would invite him. So thank you for asking because, and my dad he's just taught me everything about business. And, he lost him in 17, but he would just be the stern Italian and, okay, let's go.
Let's go.
Like Tom Kirk, let's go.
Let's
Just
go.
be
No,
good.
no whinies. Just let's go. Where are we going? Let's
Rock and roll.
turbo boosters.
Well, Neil, this has been unbelievable. We're bringing you back for part 2. Audience, don't worry about it. He'll be back. But I know people listening and want to connect with you. How can they connect?
The easiest way is neilwoodconsulting.com, Neil woodconsulting.com. And I'll tell you, when people connect with me on LinkedIn, generally the next thing you do is try to sell me something. The best people who connect on LinkedIn do something like you did. Hey, we'd love to get to know you better. I heard from a friend of mine, we could have a really good chat. This is what I enjoy. It's hearing their stories and some success stories and what their future goals are and things like that. I find this really exciting. This is fun for me. So
This
if
is what
anyone wants to
happens.
brainstorm, yeah, this is what happens. Yeah.
You're authentic. This
Right
is what
on.
happens.
Yeah.
Well, Neil, thank you. Audience, subscribe to the YouTube channel. And here's why. Yeah, I love my subscribers, but you get a gift. You get this sent to your email box and you listen and go, my friend's struggling with sales, consultative selling. I got to share it. You can have impacted his life if they take action. That's not your problem. When they take action or not, but you're impacting people. And then maybe they reach out to Neil. Maybe they connect with Neil. Maybe they hire Neil. Me and Neil will love all that if that happens. But if you just sent the link and something Neil said changes their life, all you, me, and Neil have impacted somebody's life. How cool is that? So, and it doesn't have to be my podcast. Subscribe to any podcast because they're all gifts out there. It's just timing and resonation, what will fit for you. So with that being said, me and Neil want to thank all of you for watching or listening to this podcast. And we'll see you all in the next episode of Doing Business with a Servant's Heart. Have a great day, everyone.
And thank you for having me on your show, Steve.
You're welcome.